Dat Kid From Cleveland is an unofficial mixtape released on April 20th, 2009, shortly before Kid Cudi's debut album Man on the Moon, End of Day. This lesser-known project features a compilation of Cudi's work that didn't make its way onto his debut project, A Kid Named Cudi, and also includes a few freestyles and several features. Before moving forward with reviewing Cudi's discography, I thought it could be interesting to take a look at some of the tracks that define Cudi's style and sound before embarking on his first solo album. Now, as this isn't a fully fleshed out project and more so a compilation of tracks, I won't be reviewing this mixtape like an album. Instead, I'll run through the track list and discuss what I liked about them individually rather than looking at this project as a whole. Dat Kid From Cleveland kicks off with the track Daps and Pounds, which is one of the more popular tracks on the mixtape. It's a solid opener for the project without being outstanding. The beat is quite simple, letting Cudi's rapping take center stage, although I do quite like the minimalistic nature and subtlety of the production. The hook is solid and Cudi's flow is quite good. It's just a shame that he doesn't really have anything of substance to say. The tracks Make Her Say and Sky Might Fall are two tracks which also appear on Man on the Moon, End of Day. Make Her Say features Kanye and Common and was never one of my favorite tracks, despite being a pretty big hit and sampling Lady Gaga's Poker Face. Common's verse is a standout for me, outperforming Cudi and Kanye, although they're all pretty solid. The track isn't one that you want to take too seriously, playing off poker face meaning oral sex, but it's still one of the cleaner tracks from this compilation. Sky Might Fall, on the other hand, is one of my favorite tracks on the project, featuring some incredible production from Kanye West. This track epitomizes everything I love about Kid Cudi, from the unique and atmospheric production, his rhythmic and smooth flow, a catchy hook, and meaningful lyrics. Cudi delivers one of the best rapping performances of his entire career, flowing perfectly over the synthy and memorable beat. It's no surprise that Cudi included this on Man on the Moon, and it's easily the best this mixtape has to offer. The track Look Up Into Stars, featuring Wale, starts off with a sick electronic production and auto-tune hook. Cudi's verse is quite solid, and I appreciate his slower flow. Wale delivers a decent verse as well, with his feature, suiting the beat nicely. I just don't think this track has aged overly well, but I still think it's a decent listen, without being something that I find myself returning to all that often. Superboo is one of those horny tracks Cudi was really fucking with early on in his career. Although it isn't unlistenable, some of the lyrics here are really bad. Intellectually sexy, her body is sick, her face is dope. I mean, I'm not a woman, nor a poet, but if this is the best description Cudi could come up with, this relationship was probably doomed from the get-go. If you can get past the cringy lyrics, there are some redeeming qualities, such as the third verse where Cudi's flow complements the subtle background synths nicely, but overall this isn't a track I'd ever return to outside of this mixtape. Can I Be is an interesting rap-heavy track where Cudi experiments with a slightly different flow to his other early tracks. While this isn't unlistenable, it does come off as very amateurish and shows that Cudi was still finding his feet when it came to rapping. It's something he greatly improved on Man on the Moon, as his flow and rhyme schemes just weren't very good on this track and a lot of the tracks on this project in general. It sounds like it was put together pretty quickly and lacks Cudi's distinct personality, although I do quite like the transition from the verse to the chorus at the end of this short track. Switchin' Lanes is one of the few successful rap tracks on this project. Cudi delivers some strong verses with a really solid flow, giving us a fast delivery filled with swagger that is frankly lacking on most of the other cuts on here. He raps with a lot of confidence and manages to avoid any obviously painful lyrics, and seems to be a lot more comfortable with this style of rapping. The beat is also quite solid, and the hook isn't bad either. It's not an amazing track by any means, but I think it showcases Cudi's strengths as a rapper better than most of the pre-Man on the Moon tracks, and sounds far more polished compared to some of the other tracks on this mixtape. The song also features a dope subtle transition into the next track, Higher Up. There's quite a lot to like about the track Higher Up, whether it be the beautiful melody on the piano, Cudi's smooth verse, or his pleasant hook. I think Cudi is at his best when he keeps things simple and sticks to a more personal and melodic tone. Despite being under 2 minutes long, he makes an imprint with some motivational lyrics and a catchy melody that makes you want to listen on repeat. I really like his lower pitch and groovy flow, which contrasts with the beautifully sung hook. It's just such a shame that this song was butchered by some terrible sound effects, such as kids cheering or a stupid fart noise at the end. Like, really? You had to add that shit onto this track of all tracks? I also would have loved a second verse, as this beat deserves a much longer runtime, but alas, Higher Up falls high up on the mixtape. Buggin' Out '09 is a remake of the track from A Tribe Called Quest. It's incredibly similar in structure, with the same beat and style, even including the seamless pass-off mid-verse between Consequence and Kid Cudi. Consequence kicks things off with a mediocre verse before Cudi slides in and gives us what sounds like another freestyle with his verse. His flow is solid, but honestly there's nothing overly memorable about this track, and it isn't worth returning to unless you're a really big fan of the original. Dat Kid From Cleveland also includes a large number of features from Cudi, not just his own tracks. Rollin' is one such track from the rapper Jackie Chain, featuring a dope verse from Cudi. I can't say I know anything about Jackie Chain, and his verses are super forgettable. The hook is also pretty terrible, lacking any kind of oomph to fit this club-style track. The subtle melody that plays in the background is sick though, and Cudi shows the kind of value he can provide with his rapping as a feature, complementing the style of the track really well. I can't say I'm much of a fan of this track, but Cudi certainly doesn't do a bad job. Welcome to the World is a version of the Kevin Rudolph track, featuring a verse from Cudi. I'm not a big fan of this 2000s styled rock personally, but Cudi does his thing and suits the song quite well. His verse is nothing special, but complements and improves the original track. Unless you're a big fan of this style of music though, there isn't really much here to latch onto. It's just another example of Cudi's versatility and being comfortable performing in a variety of different genres. Ho is short for Honey is another Cudi feature off of 88 Keys album, The Death of Adam. I can't say I am too familiar with them at all, but Cudi takes center stage and carries this track. He sings in a higher pitch than usual, which generally isn't my favorite, but here I don't mind it at all. It's something a bit different, and Cudi delivers a solid opening verse and hook. I like the simple melody that plays in the background, and I think this track is a solid display of Cudi's versatility early on in his career. The sax on the production is cool, although it could have been used a bit more, and 88 Keys delivers two decent short verses, although I'm not really a big fan of that gorgeous style muffled auto-tune over his voice. She Came Along is the pick of all of the Cudi features, with his personality being all over this Sharam track. The bass line is sick, creating a sound that's super original for a hip-hop track. Cudi's storytelling is strong too, rapping about discovering that his girlfriend has been cheating on him with another woman, but instead of being mad or upset, he's down to continue in a three-way relationship. The lyrics are witty and really well delivered, with a fast, rhythmic flow. The track is capped off with a sick Patsy Cline sample for the chorus, which Cudi complements perfectly with his echoed lyrics. While it might be considered a little cheesy, She Came Along is an incredibly underrated track, and a must listen for any fan. Cudi also includes a few dope freestyles on this project. '09 Freestyle is an impressive display of Cudi's rapping. As you can tell, this is completely off the dome. His flow rides perfectly on this beat, and I really like how he switches up his pace throughout. Some of the bars are a little weak, but considering that Cudi was still finding his feet lyrically in pre-recorded music, it isn't really much of a surprise for a freestyle. His rhyme schemes were nothing special, but his flow and ability to craft a decent hook at the end is a great demonstration of his hip-hop prowess. The Takeover freestyle is probably the most technically impressive of the freestyles on this mixtape. Cudi's flow is killer, again demonstrating his ability to switch up his flow and delivery while freestyling. His rhymes are stronger here, and Cudi weaves in a narrative of his come up, which is a nice little time capsule of his perspective before becoming truly famous. Sonically, I prefer the '09 freestyle, but the Takeover freestyle is a strong demonstration of his rapping ability. Freestyles aren't really something that people associate with Cudi, and have died out somewhat over the past decade, but back in the day, Cudi was genuinely an underrated freestyler, and could hang with some of the bigger name rappers. Sky High is a dope track which samples a myriad of Kanye tracks, from Touch the Sky, Get 'Em High, and Flashing Lights, just to name a few. It's a cool mashup that creates a sick beat for Cudi to freestyle on. Cudi's verse is ultra short, but his flow is super memorable and packs quite a punch for a 100-second track. The opening line, "I'm G-O-O-D good," still gets stuck in my head from time to time. He calls out the potential come up and success of his debut album before it even happens, which is rather satisfying to listen to. And overall, it's a fun track with a sick synthy beat that's super easy to listen to. I only wish it was a little longer. The final track on the project is Ask About Me, featuring Chip the Ripper. The hook here is painful, with Cudi singing in this weird auto-tune and off-pitch delivery that just doesn't work at all. When he sings in his normal voice, it's a lot more tolerable, but for an artist with a reputation of crafting excellent hooks, this certainly misses the mark. However, a saving grace for the track is actually Chip the Ripper's feature. He delivers a really solid verse, which is probably his best on a Cudi track outside of Just What I Am from IndieCud. All in all, is it even fair to rate this as a mixtape? It's certainly more of a mash of random tracks rather than being a coherent project, with some rather sloppy sounding cuts, lacking in creativity and quality. With that being said though, there are glimpses here and there that showcase Cudi's potential, and he even manages to deliver some classics that still hold up today. We got some cool freestyles and some old school features on mostly unknown artist tracks. While I think this project lacks a lot of the melodic and introspective strengths that really make Cudi great, the times where he does fall into that signature sound are where he shines best. I think Cudi brought the best elements of his music into his debut album, and left a lot of the clunky flows, terrible lyrics, and simplistic production behind. While Dat Kid From Cleveland is an essential listening. It is worth checking out if you're a big fan of Kid Cudi, even if it's just for the odd diamonds in the rough. What do you think of this mixtape? What's your favorite track? Let me know in the comment section down below. This has been For The Record. I'll see you in the next video.